Yeah, you might want to turn it. You might want to turn that down a notch, Arm. Tell me when we're ready.
I think you originally turned me on.
All right, guys, we're back. It's Thursday night. We're here at the Craft Emporium, Top of Ohio Radon in the garage. We want to thank our sponsor, Top of Ohio Radon, Paul Newland. Give him a call, 937-935-2806. Paul, come out, check your radon levels. See if you got an issue. If you do, he can get you hooked up, get you fixed, easy fix. And if you don't, you'll have the peace of mind that your radon levels are up to par. Joined tonight with Logan County media legend, William Tipple. I don't know your middle name, Bill. I actually meant to check it out. What is your middle name, Tim?
Frederick.
Frederick. I see that. William Frederick Tipple. Spent 20 some odd years, almost 30 years at Peak. How many was it?
28.
28 years. So you came in 1993. You come at a young age. You're 21, 22. And you come out of Willard.
Grange was the town, which the county seat of the Elyria. So if you're in Cuyahoga County, that's Cleveland. I'm the next county west.
Not Willard at all.
No.
Not even close to Willard.
Not that far. I mean, within an hour.
You've been to Willard.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, that's where I got
I
it.
went to Ashland for my schooling, and then over to B-Town, and been at the school now for almost 4 years. So good to see Mr. Reed occasionally. Not as much as I would think, though.
I'm busy, dude. Contrary to popular belief, I'm actually working. I am educating America's youth. 100+ students every day come through my classes. So, yeah, I am busy. But nobody knows local sports any better than you do. Go ahead.
I don't know about that, Rick. I think right now you're probably better than I am. Got me to give 2 shout-outs to start the show. Garage Sports at 2. Yeah, really do a heck of a job. I read it pretty much every day. And then I'm going to say a shout-out to Paul Newland. He worked at my house. He's easy to work with.
He's been to my house, too. He's a great dude. He's a loyal listener. He's our sponsor and listener. Great friend. Yeah, Paul is a Logan County dude. Love him. Coached his son, Tucker. Have always had a really good relationship with Paul. Now, back to Garage Sports. You did say you're loyal. You're one of those silent readers that I have. I never see you liking. I never see you sharing. We live in a world where our currency is likes and shares. So we'd love to see you a little more active on there. But, hey, we know you're out there. My metrics say that I got a lot of those readers, and we appreciate you. So we're going to take a look at all of the postseason sports locally. We're in the mix of it. Crazy thing is, postseason started yesterday, and the postseason is going on as we speak. The Bell Fountain girls basketball team is leading at the half, I'm told, by 2.
At the late third quarter, it was tied at 31, I believe.
Okay, you got a better update than I do. So they are playing the Bethel Bees. Troy?
Troy.
So, we can get into this in a little bit, but the 7 divisions is a new thing, and that has changed some of the things that we were used to over the years, going down to Springfield, for quite a few years now. We'll talk about that. That's changing. But we are, I believe we had some postseason bowling yesterday. The D2 girls, Indian Lake, I know, bowled yesterday, I believe. Addison Castle advanced. West Liberty Salem bowled yesterday. We'll get into that. There is bowling going on today. I know Riverside's Cooper Crouch has already advanced. Some of this I'm getting via text message. But we'll get into that as we go. We're going to start by talking swimming. I know you are a tremendous swimmer, Bill Tipple. What would your event be if you were to swim?
I could survive. I could stay afloat. So
You'd be in the 53.
I don't know about that. That's a pretty sprint. I don't know. That's a great question.
Maybe that 500.
That's too
That thing
long.
takes like 6 or
Too
7
long right
minutes.
now. I'm going to say maybe like a relay. Throw me in for like a relay.
Maybe even just an alternate on a relay. That'd be a good spot for you. But so the swimming, and I am admittedly not a swimming expert, but I have taken a little bit of interest in it. My daughter joined the summer swim club that Sharon Lewis puts on and does a great job with last summer, and I really enjoyed it. All youth events are somewhat painful, and I know it sounds horrible, but we enjoy them as parents, but there's always an element of, okay, let's get in here and let's get out. I found swimming to be very painless. get you a lawn chair outside, nice cool 8 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday. You head over to Botkins, you get some coffee, and you watch swimming for a few hours and you get out of there. So I did enjoy it. I really respect Coach Sharon Lewis at Bell Fountain High School. I know you do as well.
Yeah.
She's done a heck of a job with our swim program. I'm not familiar with the history of it. I think, I would guess Coach Lewis been here a decade plus maybe now.
I'd say 10 to 12 years.
And not from the area, but she's Willard. That's yeah. See, I had my wires crossed. I was thinking her later, and I was thinking Willard, but
Division I athlete.
OU, right? Ohio University. So she has done a heck of a job, and really, what I found is that the swimming in the county is pretty strong. You know, Ben Logan, Coach Sweeney is a father and a coach out there. He's been in contact with me quite a few times this year and has given me some information. I really appreciate that, because certainly as I'm reporting on some of this stuff, I don't really know what I'm talking about. Now, luckily, I don't really need to know what I'm talking about to post times, so I can do that, and I can create the graphic. But we're heading into the postseason tomorrow. I believe they are swimming at Oxford, Miami of Ohio, which seems like a good place to swim. And, you know, Mr. Sweeney, Coach Sweeney, did give me some kind of heads up on, hey, these are the people that can get out. But just looking down the list, Bell Fountain High School is well represented. Elias Abreu is kind of the star of the show. We named him Athlete of the Week there a couple months ago. He is kind of the star for the men's.
CBC Swimmer of the Year.
CBC Swimmer of the Year, 50 free and 100 free sectional champ. Now, and maybe you know a little more about this than I do, the sectional district state. So what was a sectional like in swimming, like 15, 20 teams?
I would say that's right. Now, and I knew you were going to probably talk some swim tonight. I do know some of this. I wouldn't say I'm an expert, though. I do know this, though, and this has been this way maybe, 40, 50 years plus. The Southwest District is a bear to get out of to go to state, because the Southwest District has so many schools in the Cincinnati area. It's really south of here, a couple of hours. That are the hotbed. Some of the best swimming in the nation. If you would follow like Division I swimming in college, or even the Olympians, I guess they really don't have pro swimming per se, but like Division I college swimmers, Olympians, Cincinnati is a hotbed. I mean a hotbed.
And it's only 2 divisions in swimming. Is that correct?
Yes.
I believe it's 1 and 2. And it's actually swimming and diving. And that was news to me, too. And I have a couple swimmers in class. Jalen Henry and Elena Olam are in my class, and they're both competing tomorrow. And they informed me of that. There's a state diving competition. Now, it sounds like not a lot of schools do that. And I said, well, what's stopping Bell Fountain High School from having a diver? And I think it was Elena that said, well, there's nowhere to practice. You know, the YMCA doesn't have a diving board. And so you'd kind of be having to travel.
Yeah, and that's its own beast too. It's different. It's obviously a lot different than swim. And back in the day, you were asking about like where I grew up and where I went to school. And there was a time when there was an ABC TV station in Akron, and I was kind of a glorified gopher. Was an intern there for 1 semester, and so we would go to at this time of the year we would go to Canton. That's where the finals are still. That has not changed. That's the same since it was in the '80s. And if you want to talk about, because you like sports flavor, you like atmosphere, first it's a hot box, right? Stuff like 500 or 600 people. Oh, yes, like you want to walk around in your
Speedo.
Yeah, your Speedo, your swim trunks. Your swim trunks is a fan. But it is highly competitive, and it's a lot of champs from Cincinnati again. It's been that way since the '80s.
So Elias Abreu, 1,500 free sectional champ. He is who Coach Sweeney told me statistically is close with the boys. Maybe he's going to have to, I feel like, bump up a little bit.
I was just talking to one of the swimmers about that today. I was actually, in my class was Brooklyn Coote. She's a freshman female.
Yeah, we're going to get to
She's
her.
one of the best freshmen in school history about that. So yeah, I think for Bell Fountain kids to get out, I can't speak as well as the Benjamin Logan times and placements. You might know that better than me. But for them to get to state, I think you're going to have an outstanding day tomorrow. If they have an average day, I don't think they make it.
Also, he is joined by Ryan Alexander. Ryan Alexander's competing as an individual in the 200 free, and then a couple relays made it out. The medley relay, which is Beckham Harmon, Abreu, Alexander, and Cody Hudson will be competing in that. And then also the 400 free relay, which is Jalen Henry, who I mentioned in my class, Will Myers, and then they're joined by Alexander and Abrasio. So a good representation. You could maybe know more. Is this an average Bell Fountain team compared to the last few years? Is it above average? Is this kind of what we expect out of Bell Fountain swimming? Boys in particular.
I would say the boys is right there in the mix. Maybe the girls just a little down because they've had a run on the girls for a while. Not when I say down, I mean a little down. I mean
Just have had some high-end individuals,
yeah.
certainly.
I mean, they got second in the league. I think they won the league last year. Jonathan Alder won it. And these swimming coaches, I think all these coaches kind of know what's going on before the season starts, and they try to sandbag us a little bit. But Coach Lewis and I talk, occasionally I see her around the school, and she called it. She told me 8-10 weeks ago, Benjamin Logan boys won the CBC. Jonathan Alder girls won the CBC. They did. Now, a lot of it, though, is like, I'm going to compare swim to track, which I know you follow track some. It's not only you need a couple, 3 horses, you just need depth. If you can, like, fill all the relays of people that are at least decent, you got a chance to win it because a lot of the other schools don't have anybody, they don't fill up the
They run out of kids almost.
Yeah.
A little bit like wrestling, filling your weight classes.
Yes, same idea.
Yeah, and we talked about that off air with Beckham Harmon's parents, and they said that Beckham made it as a second alternate last year in an individual event and got to compete because people scratched. And I said, well, what would make 2 people scratch? And one of the things they mentioned was possibly competitively they decide a business decision of, I don't really want to compete in this because I want to save up for this other event.
Yeah.
So you might have some people focus on one event over the other. But we'll stick with the boys, and you mentioned Benjamin Logan. Benjamin Logan was the CBC champions. They are well represented, more so than Bell Fountain. Landon Braddock in the 100 free, Liam Sweeney in the 100 fly, Carter Daniels in the 100 breast, and Dylan Vance in the 100 back. So you got 4 individuals, 4 events there. That seems pretty impressive to me. And then they got three relays, the 200 free of Sweeney, Braddock, Utah Coleman, and Daniels, the 200 medley, Vance, Daniels, Joe Meeker, and Jared Stevens, and then the 400 free, Sweeney, Stevens, Coleman, and Braddock. So,
And Utah Coleman is my nephew, so I have to give a little shout out there. But, the swim people, every sport's their own fraternity. And Sharon's been coaching this summer. I think that's where you even get to know some people earlier than school.
they're all on the same team.
Yeah.
What
so
we
she
experienced.
knows all these people because she coached them maybe when they were 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, kind of like your daughter. So
And she's getting help from those area coaches.
Yeah.
And in fairness, I wasn't aware of who they were this summer. So if my daughter will do it again this year, I'll kind of be on the lookout and I'll see, because I'm almost certain the Benjamin Logan Indian Lake coaches are helping her with that. Pretty impressed by that program in general. And like I said, swimming is it's an enjoyable sport. Not a lot of drama in swimming. It's get your kids in it, and the times will be the times, and let them go.
And what Lewis does, and again, I'm not a swim expert, but this part I can relate to any sport. I could actually compare it to wrestling. She gets the kids so much better from like December 1st to now, every year. I don't remember a year where they didn't get considerably better. And it's got to be something about the way she relates to her kids and then the way they train.
She talks about it like they're gearing up for the postseason, and that's what good programs do in all sports. The regular season's fun, but you're playing for keeps in the postseason. That's why I'm so excited. Like I found myself the last couple of days realizing these postseason things in all sports are happening. And it's just a lot more fun when there's a bracket or there's a leaderboard and you're playing for keeps.
And one other thing I'll add about this that shows Ohio's strength in swimming is Amy Fulmer, who I think you could argue is one of the most accomplished female athletes in both history.
Yeah, no doubt.
She never won a state title. I mean, she was right in the mix. She never won a state title.
State runner-up.
Yeah. That's how hard it is.
Looking at Indian Lake, also, not as big a group, but Caleb Allstetter in the 50 and 100 free. It feels like the best swimmers a lot of times. Would you agree with that? In that 50, 100 free, that's kind of where the studs reside. Then their 200 free relay of Gavin Spring, Titus Kelly, Crew McPherson, and Allstetter also qualified. And then West Liberty Salem has one individual, Cam Hissong, in the 50, 100 free. And maybe you know this. So will all 4 of the county schools compete in the same meet tomorrow? Because it's 2 divisions. If Bell Fountain's not D1, then obviously no one else is. There's nowhere else for them to go, correct?
But there's been many years where Bellefontaine was Division One though, since there's only 2 divisions.
Is Bellefontaine Division
I
One?
haven't looked that up yet. I don't know.
Well, and that you may be onto something there. Maybe they are. And I didn't look at that. Honestly, the Southwest District Board could have done a better job with their site. I was jumping around quite a bit, and it wasn't as user-friendly as I would like.
I'll put out a text to Coach Lewis.
Well, and I'll start talking about the girls, because the girls are well represented as well. You talked about Bellefontaine. It does feel like the Chiefs have been a little stronger, obviously, in the girls' side of it. And for them, it starts with freshman Brooklyn Kuntz, who you referred to, who is a 2-time qualifier in individual events with the 100 fly and the 200 intermediate. Coach Sweeney told me she was the one competitor that her times would get her to the state meet. So all she has to do is, show up and kind of hold pat, or at least, make sure no one catches up to her. Now you said, tell me a little bit, because you were following it. When Amy Fulmer is a freshman, how would she have compared to Brooklyn Kuntz?
I think that's a good match.
Close.
Close.
So it was, Amy Fulmer as a freshman wasn't Amy Fulmer as a senior.
No, and I would say that Amy Fulmer, if she was, I don't know if you were at the school back then when you were, a teacher, and I didn't know her well. She was kind of quiet and kind of kept to herself, I thought, but I think she got even considerably better in college than in high school, which that's what's supposed to happen, but she really got elite in college, I think. But no, she just kept getting better and better and better over the next 7 or 8 years from freshman year in high school to when she finally retired.
Is swimming a sport where you, and this may sound silly, but like cross country, for example, sometimes people come in as freshmen and they just immediately have a huge impact. Is swimming similar to football and basketball where you don't expect to have a huge impact as a freshman and you have to build to it?
I would say it's more of a choice B. You got to build to it. Now, there's going to be some. Kuntz would be one. Fulmer was still really good. I mean, she may have been CBC Swimmer of the Year her freshman year. Kuntz was not a couple weeks ago. Was a girl from Jonathan Alder, but Kuntz is still damn good especially for a freshman. But I would say you got to build up to it. I would say a lot of the people who win state titles in about a week are juniors and seniors.
So Brooklyn Kuntz is joined by senior Kate Myers in the 500 free, and then 2 relays, the medley relay, which is Kuntz, Myers, Elena Olam, and Kaylee Flora, and then the 400 free with Myers, Emma Niegto, Moya, Flora, and Kuntz. That wraps up the Bellefontaine contingent. Ben Logan also well represented in the ladies. 2 girls qualify in the individuals, Winnie Bodden in the 100 breast, and then Fiona Sweeney, who was the Garage Sports Girls Athlete of the Week this week, in the 50 and 100 free. Now that Sweeney family is kind of, I've learned they're the swim family. The dad's the head coach. Liam is probably the most the most successful boy swimmer, and then Fiona is probably the most successful girl swimmer. They also qualified the 200 medley, Annika Chappell, Leah Braddock, Sweeney, and Lottie Bodden. And then the 200 free was Sweeney, Braddock, Chappell, and Annika Schmidt, I believe. And then the last girl from the area is West Liberty Salem's Lydia Schmidt in the 50 and 100 free. Once again, their best swimmer focuses on the 50, 100 free, which kind of, in my mind, maybe I'm wrong, feels a little bit like the 100-meter dash in track, like it's the marquee event.
Yes, the 50 and the 100 would be like the 100 and 200 in track. I got a swim question for you, though, because you're a dad now with this, and you maybe can speak for Finley. But what are the young kids, when I say young, like 10 and under, what do the young kids like about summer swim? Because it's a big, I live by the pool. It's big, it's crowded, there's hundreds of people there. What's the catch to it?
I think for my daughter, it's a simple sport. It's not. I'm sure there's tons of nuance,
Right.
But at the end of the day, they know how to do it, and certainly the other events can be tougher. But there's some simplicity to it. And I think there's some socialization to it, a little bit like wrestling in that regard of you're going to have a race and then you're going to have, 45 minutes and kind of run around a little bit with your friends. I thought they did a really good job running the meets. I think we were in and out in 3 hours. You can't complain too much about that. It's summertime, it's kind of belong in the pool. I'm a big fan. Going to switch gears to a sport that I know I could just picture that you'd be as good a swimmer as I think you are, Tips, I just have a feeling you're a better bowler. And so we're going to talk a little bit this bowling. It's another sport that until I started this garage sports venture, I didn't follow the local bowling scene, that closely. But I have been impressed, and I think that bowling, as much as swimming, is strong in Logan County, and it's strong in this area.
It's very strong. And you're really overhyping me. I'm a penny bowler. Now, I did it one year in junior high as a youth thing before they had the high school teams. And I would say I was average.
What would you bowl tonight? Right off the street.
If I get 150, I'm pretty happy.
Okay.
And that's what blows me away about that. I'm a numbers guy, kind of a math teacher. The kids, and I've had some of these kids in class. Last year I had Gracie Hood, and we would talk bowling a little bit. And she has her own coach. And she started. What they do is it's kind of like swim. They get really good coaching, and they get into it so young. Some of them, because some of these swim kids get into it when they're 5, 6 years old. Some of these bowlers are into it when they're like 5, 6 years old as well. The numbers and this has been going on for a while because I used to follow this in Peak, Ohio. A kid to shoot like 200 when I was growing up, and we didn't have high school bowling. That would be like, that kid's really good. To shoot at 200 now?
We had 200-300s in the county.
But I'm talking about 200.
Right.
Like, it's okay. They're really good. I mean, and I know you keep great stats on this, but like, there's a few, probably at least a handful of guys and girls that are averaging over 200.
Well, I'm looking at them right here, and with the girls, we'll start talking to them. You mentioned Gracie Hood. Gracie Hood is clearly the best girls bowler in Logan County. She averaged 222.6, so she averaged a 222 for the season, and that's in. I don't have that in front of me. Excuse me. That's in like 40 games. I mean, that's not a small sample size. That's incredible. And the one thing that's interesting about bowling is it's the one sport, especially that you can compete in with adults. And I noticed this like on my site. Some of the adult bowlers that the names that they're into it and they're following the high school kids. And that's kind of interesting. You can't really do that so much in other sports. If you're a 40-year-old former basketball player, you might go to open gym, I guess.
Maybe.
And you might wrestle around a little bit.
Maybe.
It's
Golf.
Golf. You're right. Yeah, you can compete there. But it's it's one of those lifetime sports that I think it's cool that kids have that avenue. And a lot of times you'll get kids that maybe they're not necessarily the most athletic, but they might be. I'm sure, like anything. Chris Walden comes to mind. 20-some years ago, he was as good an athlete as Bell Fountain had, and he was a heck of a bowler. But you can probably get away with being less of an athlete, more of a coordinated hand-eye stuff. But looking at that girls' list, I just want to run down. We published that. Actually, I'm publishing it tomorrow. Gracie Hood of Bell Fountain, 222. Chloe Heminger of Bell Fountain, 196. Haley Yelton of Bell Fountain, 187. You see a theme here. Nevaeh LaFollette of Bell Fountain, 181. So the top 4 golfers all from Bell Fountain. Then Addison Castle, I mentioned, from Indian Lake. She averaged 177. She competed yesterday along with West Liberty Salem, and she has qualified to the district meet as an individual.
That's hard to do because they don't take very many.
They take the teams,
right,
and then whatever spots are left over, they have a certain number.
4.
Well, she is one of them, so she'll be bowling next week, I think. I saw it, now I forget it, but
sometimes it's like Beaverview.
It's exactly what it is.
Beaver Creek, yeah.
Sarah Crouch, Riverside's head coach, texted me that, and honestly, it was spelled kind of weird. Beaverview, VU, and I thought there was a typo until you said that. Benjamin Logan also has a strong squad. So Aubrey Zedlitz of Ben Logan, 175. Then West Liberty has a couple nice bowlers. Alyssa Mueller, 179, and Sadie Paul, 166. The West Liberty Salem team advanced to the district meet. And that kind of surprised me. And I noted here a gal named Lily Gerhart, who I have not really had her on my radar. She wrote a 524 series for them and was one of the top 10 or 15 scores. So I don't know if she's someone that's been hurt or just had a night to remember. But the West Liberty Salem girls are moving on to the district meet. And then rounding out the top 10, Hunter McCullough of Ben Logan, McCullough, 165, and Maddie Ham of Ben Logan, 161. The Bell Fountain girls team, you tell me, they're almost a given to advance.
I would think they would get the state. Now, they got to still go out and do it. But they've been there and done that. I mean, they've been in the top 10. I think last year was maybe 6th, 7th overall in the state. I mean, and this will be a hot button one for Coach Reed. I think Coach Reed's a heck of a coach. But I would say
Not a good bowling coach.
Well, but just a heck of a coach.
Right.
I would say that Coach Lewis for the swimming, Coach Klein for Bellefonte Girls bowling, they're both exceptional. I mean, I think they're. And the reason I say is consistency. Their teams are always good.
And dedicated to it.
Well,
You know,
that's
and
true.
sometimes in those sports, and you know, we learn obviously in wrestling, you deal with this. Sometimes you just need that person that owns it and says, "This is my thing." And we're a little bit of a niche sport. I don't mean that as a derogatory, but we don't have quite the following that other sports have. And to put the time and energy into it. And yeah, Jane Klein I've been at Bellefonte 19 years, and I think she's been the coach maybe all of them. And I actually have a nice article that I'm going to share at some point. She was a heck of a bowler herself, and probably still is. But I've got some articles in the Lima News where Jane Klein's the headline.
Oh, yeah. Exceptional. I mean, this will go back ways because she's an older lady. I don't mean in a bad way, but I mean, she's just been doing it for a long time.
And that's a bowling family.
Yes. She'd be, I think, related to Howie Lambert.
Yeah, I feel like that's true. Yeah, Coach Lambert.
So, but yeah, I mean, she's in, I think, the Ohio Bowling Hall of Fame. She's
Okay.
that elite.
Wow, that's impressive. So Bellefonte girls, we assume what we know is expect them to get to the district, certainly get to the state meet. We know they've done some good things at that state meet before, so anxious to see how they do. Looking at the boys, I mentioned Cooper Crouch. His dad, Zara, texted me earlier. Well, actually sent an email to media and said that Cooper had already advanced. He wrote a 744 series, which included, like, I didn't write it down, but it was like a 260, a 240, and I don't know the math, but it was, he's a heck of a bowler. Now, his brother was a heck of a bowler, right? And his dad's a heck of a bowler.
Yeah. Oh,
This Riverside team has won the state title.
They won it, yes.
Was that last year that they won the state title or 2 years ago?
I think it was 2 years ago, but I'm not for sure.
Cooper's older brother, if you said his name, I would know it.
Sarah?
Zara's the dad. And yeah, so Riverside as a team, I would guess, is rebuilding because Cooper, it doesn't appear Riverside has a lot of other, higher level bowlers. But Cooper, I believe, is a freshman or sophomore. I should have that written down. He was our athlete of the week. I think he's a freshman. If he's not a freshman, he's a sophomore. So now bowling, I would guess, is a sport you can come in right away. Would you agree?
Yes.
The good ones can, you don't have to maybe mature as much physically.
No. Especially if they've been doing it since like first grade. And if we go just a little bit south here, then you keep an eye on not just Logan County. You're truly a sports junkie. Urbana, they've been phenomenal in bowling. They've won state team titles. And Mechanicsburg, they've won state team titles. Kent Ridge Boys, they've won state team titles. So exceptional.
Did you say Mechanicsburg?
And Urbana and Kent Ridge.
Yeah. That's interesting. Coldwater's really good at bowling
Really
as well. Which that surprises me because you'd almost think, do they have anything left in the tank? Like, you would think they were going to be bad at something, be bowling. But bowling is a beer drinking sport, and Coldwater's a beer drinking town. So there might just be enough kids left over that don't play basketball, don't wrestle, and don't play football, and they join the bowling team.
Well, and the other part of it is you don't need great depth. If you have 5, you're good to go.
Right. Yeah. So looking at the top 10, Cooper Crouch was clearly the number one bowler in the Logan County area with the 232. Jarrett Buckenroth, CBC Bowler of the Year, was just recently, this past week, was our Garage Sports Athlete of the Week. He had a 218, and this is a run of Ben Logan kids. Landon Stutt, Ben Logan, 202. Dylan Stewart, 202.2. Caleb Knight, 200.7. So that's 4 straight Ben Logan guys. Then there's a chieftain here, Alex Moon, 199. Nate Davis, back to Ben Logan. Nate was a guy that rolled a 300.
Yeah, he
and
did.
he's, he is a little more of an inconsistent guy.
Yeah.
He's a guy who threw up a 300, then he threw a 150 after that, which that's exactly what I would do. Now, I would never throw a 300, but if I did throw a 300, I promise you I'd follow it up with a 150, even if I was a good bowler. But he's 198. Devin Jones of West Liberty Salem. They got a couple decent bowlers. 193 Tucker Searles, which I believe is the coach's son.
Yeah, it is.
Larry Searles been there for a long time.
Yep.
193, and then David Allen of Bell Fountain 192. So Ben Logan, someone had mentioned to me that they thought they had a chance to make some real noise in the postseason. It's hard for me to say. I mean, I read this stuff, but I just don't know. I would guess certainly going to qualify as a team.
I would say they got a chance too because of the consistency. Again, it's only 5 bowlers, and if you got, I don't know what their 5th bowler was like, or do they have 5 in the top, like 7?
Well, they have 5 of the top 7
Yeah.
in the county, so
Yeah,
they got a pretty good 5-some right
And
there.
They're going to be Division
2,
2.
right?
Yeah, they could definitely make a run.
Well, it'll be interesting to see, and that's all tomorrow, I believe. Maybe it was today. Well, Cooper Crouch bowled today, so sometimes some of this information comes in waves.
I think it's today.
Okay, so we'll find out
Yeah, I
maybe
think it's
even
today.
by tonight.
Yeah.
There's a site, and I don't know how much anyone cares, but it's called Miami Valley Bowling on Facebook. They do one heck of a job. They make me feel like I'm inadequate. They keep up on all those stats, and they must have a really good crew of, I would say, even tournament managers, because there's no way they get 50 coaches to report scores. I mean, anybody that you've done it, chase coaches around, they're inconsistent, but they're getting tournament results immediately. So,
Got an answer on your swim stuff.
okay.
Chiefs are kind of on that borderline because they are Division I in girls bowling. I'm pretty sure still, but in swimming, they're D2.
Okay, so that means West Liberty Salem, Bell Fountain, Benjamin Logan, the Lake are all in the same meet. Well, I kind of like that. I'll be interested to see. Well, let's switch gears here. So we're halfway home on the sports. Now, these next 2, I'm going to have a lot more. Well, we're going to have a lot more knowledge. Certainly this next one for myself. We're going to get into wrestling. And wrestling, is a little more of a long tradition here. Bowling and swimming are a little more kind of come lately sports. Wrestling, there's a long history in this county. We have 2 really good teams in in Logan County this year with Benjamin Logan and Indian Lake. Both just, and that's 2 programs that have had good teams for many, many years. So nothing too out of the ordinary. But I would argue this Ben Logan team may be one of their better ones in a long
think so,
time.
too. I
It's
agree.
very deep and it's high end. They got 4 or 5 guys that can place at the state tournament. Plus they got another about 6 or 7 that can go to the district. So I'll be anxious to see how they do, starting out in the postseason, which really for them starts Saturday. The Central Buckeye Conference tournament is Saturday. That's, kind of when I coached, that was always like the start of the postseason, because how you did there really impacted your sectional seeding. So you weren't playing for keeps, but you kind of felt like you were. We'll start with Bell Fountain. Bell Fountain, not the strongest Bell Fountain team we've seen, but they have a few individuals that have a chance. And I want to mention this dubstat.com. So I know in football, we've all kind of fallen in love with Drew Pasteur and Fantastic 50. He uses math. He's a Worcester math professor, and he puts data to his rankings.
Right.
And he takes out all the opinions and just gives you a great look at what the computer says. And this dubstat.com has done that with wrestling. And it started slow a few years ago, but he's found his niche. And I'm super impressed by what he's doing. I bought a subscription. I was that impressed. And he breaks it down, rankings in the sectional, in the district, and the state. And I wrote those down for everyone. And I'm really anxious to see how that turns out. Certainly he's not going to be totally right. But I bet he's more right than you or I could be.
Yeah.
So at Bell Fountain, I identified 3 wrestlers that Dubstat, the rankers, felt they could make it out of the sectional tournament, which that sectional tournament's next weekend. I believe it's hosted at Northwestern High School now, which is somewhat new. But you've got 113-pound Jeffrey Smith. Jeffrey's ranked 3rd in the sectional, and then he's ranked 13th in the district. So when you look at that, you say, should make it to districts. It's not a given by any stretch, but a guy that you would hope could get to the districts. And then at that point, you hope, can he win a match or 2? 126-pound Jared Young, kind of in the same boat. He's ranked 4th in the sectional and 12th in the district. Jared has had a pretty good season. He's had some nice results. I was impressed when he beat the Blackwell kid from Indian Lake, who was a state alternate a few years ago. I'm impressed with Jared athletically. I'm with him in class in the gymnasium. He's one of the best basketball playing wrestlers that I've seen in a while. He can dribble a basketball, which for a wrestler, that's like, something to be seen. Most of them dribble it off their feet. But Jared's dad, Ryan, was a really good wrestler for Benjamin Logan back in the early 90s. And then 157-pound Xavier May is ranked 5th in the sectional, kind of on the outside looking in. But, certainly that's within the number that you would hope to get to that postseason.
Top 4 from in the sectional moved to the district.
Top 4, and I assume the district is still at Wilmington. It's been at Wilmington now for a while, and I'm almost certain it still is. Not the greatest place to have a district tournament. We had talked about years ago, they did the districts all together at the Nutter Center. They do D1, D2, and D3. I was a kid when they did that. I'd be all for them going back to that. Put them all together. Yeah, it's a lot of wrestling to watch, but just nice to have that space. Wilmington's always really crowded. I mean, it's just a high school gym, and you're putting, 50-ish schools. Yeah, they don't have full teams, but it's a lot of wrestlers, 16 times 14 weight classes. So never a huge fan of that. Mentioned Benjamin Logan. Just a really strong squad. I'll go through it somewhat quickly just because we'll be here forever. Jeremiah Parker, 120 pounds, ranked 3rd in the sectional. Cooper Buck, 126 pounds. I talked to his dad. Cooper is ranked 3rd in the sectional, 10th in the district at 126 pounds, but he is cutting down to 120 for the CBC. He is a guy that made the state tournament last year, so certainly once you make it once, that's your goal, is to make it back and then some. He's had a really good season at 126, but there's plenty of guys there that can be roadblocks, and he's doing what wrestling guys do, especially lightweights. He's going to go down one more weight class. And his father, who I really respect his opinion, Jordy said that the path was much smoother at 120. 132, the older Buck son, Carter Buck, is ranked 2nd in the sectional, 9th in the district. 138, Kyle Kibler, 2nd in the sectional, 11th in the district. 144 is one of their hammers, Owen Weeks. Owen Weeks, the number 1 ranked wrestler in the sectional, 2nd ranked in the district, 6th ranked in the state. So, he is a projected state placer.
Is he elite?
That's a really good wrestler.
Do you know how great Owen is?
I believe he's a junior, but I don't know that. 150, Kendall Plikert, who I know is a senior, 5th in the sectional, 20th in the district. 157, Jordan Pender, 3rd in the sectional, 9th in the district. Another one of the elite wrestlers at 165 pounds, Hayden Heights. He's 2nd in the sectional, 4th in the district, 11th in the state. So, projected to get to the state meet. Now, it won't be easy. And you look at that and you say, that's a tough district. If you're 4th in the district and you're still 11th in the state, that means your district's a little tougher than some of the others. He comes from a long line of Heights wrestlers.
Yeah.
Clear back to when I was the head coach, which is over a decade ago. And his sister Reagan is a really good wrestler. We'll talk about her in a minute. 190, Owen Jordan, 1st in the sectional, 2nd in the district, 6th in the state. Owen Jordan is the son of a guy named Brian Jordan.
Oh.
Brian Jordan was a state runner-up about the time you were coming here.
Yeah.
So 1992.
Yep, I saw him wrestle. He was a buck kicker.
Very cerebral, very quiet. Brian was a state runner-up as a junior, I believe. Did not place as a senior, but was a great Hall of Fame athlete for Benjamin Logan.
Played
Great
football.
Great football player. Played running back, played offensive line, was good at both of them. You'll see that very often, guy that handles the ball and blocks. But, yeah, Heights, and I skipped over 175-pounder Ethan Carpenter. One in the sectional, 3 in the district, 11 in the state. Ethan is the son of Cole Carpenter, who was a state qualifier. Might have been a placer. I don't think so. I think he was a qualifier. Heavy guy for Tony Grant about, 20 years ago now. It's hard to believe that's been almost 20 years. But really, the elite guys are Weeks, Heights, Carpenter, Jordan. And I'll throw Cooper Buck in there. I think Cooper Buck, if he drops down, he becomes a 5-man crew, which, if you're Kyle Seeley, and Kyle Seeley's done a heck of a job with Ben Logan, and Ben Logan has great tradition. Tony Grant built a really good Southwest Ohio program. That's 5 guys that your goal is to place in the state meet. Now, that's hard to do, If you get 3 of them, I'm outside looking in, but you've had a heck of a year if you get 3 state places. And anything above that, you're just over the moon. Indian Lake, kind of when I think of Logan County wrestling, and I've been on the losing end of it at times, I think of Ben Logan in the Lake button heads, the old Tony Grant, Bill Fulton duels of the 90s and 2000s. But that has continued with Kyle Seeley and now Ryan Dixon at Indian Lake. Indian Lake has just another host of good wrestlers. Look at 113 pounds, J.J. Shirk. I believe JJ's a freshman, 5th in the sectional, 10th in the district, but 22nd in the state. So again, now I should mention, Indian Lake has moved to Division III, which they moved there a few years ago, and then Graham chased them there. Not literally, but Graham is now in Division III, which if you're a wrestling guy, to me, that's unbelievable. Like, to think that Graham High School is now a Division III wrestling program. It's great news for the Division II people. It's really bad news for the Division III people.
I saw something too on social media, which I think it was a fact. I don't believe everything I see on social media, but you'll know this one, Graham. It was Graham a couple weeks ago telling me they won the Ohio Duels, and that they're the only school ever. Part of this is because of enrollment or maybe wanting to go up, but they've won in all 3 divisions.
Both. It is because of enrollment and because one year they chose to go up to Division I and challenge Lakewood St. Edward. So yes, they have won the state title in 1, 2, and 3. And I've talked about this on here, how much respect I have for Graham's program, how much respect I have for Jeff Jordan. Coach Jordan's no longer the head coach, but still got a lot of respect for what they do. I root for Graham. I know some guys locally don't, but that's silly to me. They run a class act program. So Indian Lake had a couple years reprieve from them, but they're back. J.J. Shirk, like I mentioned, that tough Troy district. That Troy district has become a hammer over the last 20 years. You look back, when I was a kid, I was a district champion out of Xenia, and I got beat in the first round, unfortunately, and it makes me sick to even say that out loud. But I did get beat in the first round to a number 5 out of Fostoria, and that was common in those days. The number 1s from the Southwest would lose in the first round to the 4s and the 5s from Northeast. That does not happen anymore. If you're a 1 in Troy, I'm not saying it never happens, but I know Brady Hyatt's listening. I bet he would text me and tell me that if you're a 1 out of Troy, you're winning in the first round. And honestly, if you're a 1 out of Troy, you're placing an inordinate amount of times, and you're probably winning the state a bunch. You've got some of those small private schools, Legacy Christian, Troy Christian, Miami Valley. That was for a minute with Kolodzic. You got schools like Versailles. You got Miami East, Mechanicsburg, Covington. It's had some really good wrestlers, and there's a ton I'm not mentioning. But Indian Lake didn't probably get a ton of favors by going to D3. Another freshman, Jordan Henderson, and I don't know his story. I mean, I gotta think he's one of the Hendersons, obviously. He would seem kind of young to be LJ's brother, because LJ at this point's a 2015 grad, 14. That's a big gap. It can happen. That's a big gap between brothers. I guess nephew, cousin, but Jordan Henderson is 2 in the section, 4 in the district, 14 in the state. Keyshawn Blackwell, 4 in the section. Bronx Dixon, which is son of head coach Ryan Dixon. Bronx is a freshman. He's ranked 6th in the sectional, which sounds kind of low, but he's 7th in the district. That tells you how tough that, I don't know where that sectional is now. I should know that. 28th in the state. Gavin Henry, 7th in the sectional. Czar Dixon, the oldest son of head coach Ryan Dixon, 3rd in the section, 6th in the district, 11th in the state. Now this Tristan Schaffner at 190, I've been kind of slow on him. I feel like he hasn't wrestled much this year. They don't have much on him. He's got a nice record, but it's in limited showing. He's ranked 2nd in the section and 8th in the district. So, I mean, he's definitely a guy to watch. And then what really interests me, and I know it'll interest you, at 215 pounds, the best wrestler in Logan County, and it's really not that close, is 215-pound Owen Pummel. Owen Pummel's ranked 1st in the section, 1st in the district, 2nd in the state. He started out the season at heavyweight, is cut down to 215. He's a hammer. I think he's lost 1 match this year, and it was against the Hope kid from Graham, and it was a default. So I don't know exactly what happened in that match. It's a Versailles sectional. We got a couple people listening, thanks to Jordy Buck there. So, yeah, I mean, Versailles, that means Versailles is there, which is usually a good start to a nice wrestling tournament. But Owen Pummel, his brother Hayden, we featured, state champion, only the 2nd in Indian Lake school history. recently won a league title for
Glenville State.
Glenville State. You got better memory than that. I'm the one that posted it. These are elite wrestlers. The backup is almost as interesting to me. Freshman Aaron Rapp, Coach John Rapp's son, is ranked 3rd in the section, 4th in the district, 9th in the state, and he's not going to wrestle in the postseason. He's listed as the 9th best wrestler in the state of Ohio at 215 pounds, and he's JV. And he's only JV because he has Owen Pummel in front of him, and then at heavyweight he has Chris Timms, who's the 9th ranked heavyweight in the state in Division III. So I can't remember a time, and certainly there's people listening.
Wow.
I don't think in the history of Logan County we've had many
No.
top 10 wrestlers that wrestle JV. It's
No.
just none of our programs, even Ben Logan the Lake when they've been really good, haven't had the kind of depth that would stop a guy.
And if this is pro sports, both of them thinking of trade.
Yeah, or somebody be transferring. But when your dad's the head football coach,
Right, I know.
you're probably not going to.
Can you trade for like a month? I mean,
Now that has been talked about at times is should they allow more than one kid from a school to enter in an individual sport? And I don't really have an opinion. I'm sure Aaron Rapp would like to.
well, I think the short answer is going to be no. You know why? It just hardly ever happens.
Right.
So there's not going to be any push for it.
And it would also allow elite programs to really stockpile talent because then there'd be no negative to being the backup. You go there. But he is an impressive kid. I saw him at, I've said this before, I told his dad, I saw him at DJ McDonald's wedding, and he looked different. And I didn't realize that he was only going into his freshman year. He was an all-league player for Indian Lake. And, he's going to be a man. And I think Indian Lake, I know we're off topic, Indian Lake's going to be better at football next year than people think. I think they'll take a step back because they're losing a lot of good players. But guys like him and Brody Reisinger, they'll be 2 of the best players on the field every Friday night. And I know Owen Pummel deserves a lot of this attention too. He is, and I don't know, this is where I'm a little removed from wrestling right now. I don't know the guy that's number 1, so I can't speak to you. Is this going to be like a epic finals, or is this like the number 1 guy is just heads and shoulders above everyone? I don't really know. But I'm anxious to find out. And then Chris Timms, that's a kid. I don't feel like he played football. I feel like we would know if he did, right?
I don't think so.
I think if Indian Lake had a 285-pound kid that was ranked top 10 in the state playing football, I'd know who they were. So it sounds like they missed one on there, I would guess. I don't really know that. But, the Lake's going to get, to me, 7, 8, 9 district qualifiers. And then, they're going to get anywhere between probably 2 and 4 or 5 state qualifiers.
Well, I got a few things to add in here because you know wrestling better than me, but I find this to be a little bit interesting. Maybe it happens in other families. There's a lot of wrestling families. Hayden Pummel wrestled like 150 or 160. His brother is just that much bigger of a guy, like thicker, I guess.
Yeah, and I don't really know that. Now, his brother's gotten pretty big himself. That's interesting. What you said about wrestling families is wrestling is certainly a sport of families, and it's hard to get really good at wrestling if your family's not into it. You can get good, but to get really good, there's a lot of time commitment there and traveling and miserable days at tournaments that even if you love wrestling, you don't feel like being there 10 hours.
That takes a long time.
Yeah, so, you definitely see the families that do it, they kind of regenerate, especially at programs like Benjamin Logan and Indian Lake. You see a lot of the names, that Benjamin Logan team in particular. Jordy Buck wrestled for Tony Grant. Kendall Pleichert's dad, Port Pleichert, wrestled for Tony Grant. Hayden Heights has had multiple brothers and sisters. Ethan Carpenter's dad wrestled for Tony Grant. Owen Jordan's dad wrestled for Tony Grant. I don't know Levi Aker, but I believe Levi Aker is Jeff Pleichert's relative, who Jeff Pleichert's like Ben Logan's super fan. So, yeah, about every 15 years the names regenerate, and I love that about it.
A couple of things though before we go on to
West Liberty, yeah.
If we're comparing Benjamin Logan and Indian Lake, if we look to like the CBC in the postseason, who's got maybe the deeper team?
Ben Logan.
And who's got maybe the more elite top 4 or 5 guys that maybe could make noise at state?
Normally it'd be Indian Lake. Definitely Ben Logan's the deeper team. They beat him in a duel, and they just have more guys, I feel like. And I could be wrong because I am not as locked into it. Usually Indian Lake is a little more high end. They've had 2 state champions. Ben Logan has not had a state champion. I would guess Indian Lakes had clearly more placers over the last 20, 30 years. This year may not be quite that, though, because I see 5 guys on this Ben Logan team that I think are realistic placers with Buck, Heights, Carpenter, Jordan, and Weeks. So Indian Lake probably doesn't have that kind of firepower. Now, if you had to pick one team that has the most likely to have a state champion, it's Indian Lake with Owen Pummel. And, they got a handful of state placers as well.
Heard anything about what Pummel's going to do college wrestling? He's going to pursue.
I don't know.
I haven't either.
Yeah.
I've not heard a peep.
Looking to West Liberty Salem, so they are in that Division III. I don't know if they're in that Versailles sectional. That the nice thing about that site is it does show you. They have 5 wrestlers that have a ranking that would at least put them in the ballpark. Starts with their freshman Wyatt Shoemaker at 106 pounds. He's ranked 7th in the sectional, but 10th in the district. So, he's obviously got a tough sectional. It's 106. Anybody that's coach knows that you're going to get more variance at 106 in heavyweight than anywhere in the lineup. Weird things happen with the little guys and the big guys. You just never know. You're dealing with a lot of freshmen at 106, and at heavyweight, you're dealing with a lot of dudes that maybe haven't wrestled a bunch. Jordy said they are at Versailles as well. So, 120 pounds, Madden Kilgore. He is ranked 6th in the sectional. Now, again, I mentioned that Cooper Buck's dropping down. All these rankings are subject to change. Plus, I did notice the site ranks more than one guy from a weight class, so that can absolutely affect if 2 guys. Aaron Rapp's ranked 9th or 3rd in the sectional. Well, whoever's 4th might as well move up a spot because Aaron Rapp can't wrestle. 126 pounds, Lucas Merriman is ranked 1st in the sectional. Now, that's the 126 pound that Cooper Buck, which they're Division II and Division III. I'm sorry, so they wouldn't cross paths anyways. But Lucas Marion 1 in the sectional, 9 in the district. Tyler Langhart, who's had a really good season for West Liberty Salem. We had Andy Hartshorn on about 5 weeks ago. He's done a heck of a job. He's a Division I wrestler for Ohio University. I don't know if we talked about that much. I mean, he's a dude. Did you catch any of that? He was a D1 guy. Starter at OU at heavyweight. Like, we don't see those kind of guys in Logan County very often. He's been there 4 or 5 years, which kind of unbeknownst to me. And he's doing a good job. He's building that program back. It's a program with tons of history, but always struggles with numbers. Just never can consistently keep them. It kind of comes in waves. Then the marquee wrestler at West Liberty Salem's 165-pound Silas Crable, who's 2nd in the sectional, 6th in the district, and 16th in the state. So he's probably their guy, realistically, that if you're going to pick a guy that could get to the state tournament, obviously he's 6th in the district. He's probably the guy that they would lean on. Looking to the girls' side, we talked about this. I don't want to go too far in because we've talked about it on air. I had Brian Newland on last weekend, and we talked about just how impressive this girls' has come along in the last few years. And really, it's the same story as the boys. It's Benjamin Logan and Indian Lake. They both got really strong programs. And the interesting thing is both of them have male coaches that flipped over to the girls' side. And I think that's really important for the development of their program. Not that girls can't do it, it's just they don't exist yet. It's going to take a few years before those girls start coming back and start coaching, their own girls. But we'll start with Benjamin Logan. We featured a couple of their girls on Garage Sports. 105-pound Belen Palmer is ranked 7th in the district and 21st in the state. 125-pound Bella Hughes, she is one of the stars of the local scene. She is 3rd in the district and 8th in the state, so projected to be on the podium. She is only a freshman. She was an OAC state runner-up last year. That OAC is a legit middle school state tournament. So if you're on the podium there, you're well on your way.
This is the second ever.
170 pounds, Reagan Heights, number 1 in the district, number 4 in the state. So on paper, they've got 2 state placers. And then 190 pounds, Sophia Harris, 2nd in the district and 14th in the state. So Brian Newland has got 4 legit girls that he's going to go into the postseason with. They're going to the Greenview sectional. He's got a chance to really make some noise with those 4 girls. Looking at Indian Lake, they've got the bigger squad. It's kind of flipped the script from the boys. The boys, Ben Logan is kind of running things. In the girls' side, it's Indian Lake. Phil Maxey's done a heck of a job. I always feel like I struggle with this name. 115 pounds. Maya Ankrum, ninth in the district. 120 Carson Newkirk, 6th in the district. 125 Riley Shaner, 5th in the district. 135 pounds Addison Roby, 6th in the district. 140 pounds Augusta Biederman, athlete of the week a few weeks ago, 5th in the district. I feel like she's maybe underrated. I'm totally throwing that out there. But when I saw her wrestle and talking to Coach McAtee, I'd be surprised if she didn't make the state tournament. And she's on the outside looking in right now, supposedly. 145 pounds, Annie Rapp. I believe it's Coach Rapp's daughter.
It is.
So he's got a boy and a girl on it. That's a tough family. They're getting after it there. That's a good Thanksgiving dinner there. 155 pounds, Kylie Hottie, 6th in the district. And then the star, my favorite wrestler, 235 pound, former athlete of the week for Garage Sports, Maddie Miller, ranked number 1 in the district, number 2 in the state. She's a hammer. I mean, she is legit. I watched her drop down and shoot a double leg takedown on a girl at the Iron Maiden, and I knew that's a wrestler right there. There's no doubt. Anxious to see how she does. She beat a tough girl from Archbold in the Iron Maiden, I'm sorry. And there is another girl out there, though, and I feel like that number 1 girl is pretty legit. Talk about sometimes the number 1's like up for grabs. I could be wrong, but I feel like whoever's number 1 and hers is a dude.
Well, and you talk about one of the fastest growing sports in Ohio right now. We saw it at Bell Fountain last month at the Iron Maiden. When it first started, it was a big deal, but now it's like 600 kids. I mean, it's just, and I was out there both days, just a little bit, Friday and Saturday. Holy moly, there were kids. In fact, the whole gym was full.
Yeah, I was super impressed, and we've talked about that at length last week. I think it's a sport that will be, it will get big fast. Kind of like bowling. Bowling grew pretty quick, and it's legit. There's no doubt that bowling belongs. I think girls wrestling will be even more so. And then the last local girl, West Liberty Salem, their head coach Ben Griffith, his daughter at 110 pounds, Chloe Griffith, she is ranked 10th in the district. So, she's certainly supposed to get to the district, but on the outside looking in right now to get to state, I would guess in the girls particular, there's probably a decent amount of variance in those rankings. I would guess in its infancy, there's still a little more upsets, I guess, than the boys' side.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, we're going to move on to basketball.
See if I can get you a final for the Chiefs.
So that would be awesome. We won't be able to dig into the individual stuff with basketball, or we'll keep this crew here all night long.
Yep.
But I am interested in looking at the pairings. I printed out the brackets. Now, I want you to look at this bracket, Tips, because I swear they're up to tricks here. It appears that instead of laying them out where that everyone plays everyone, the Chiefs did go down 47-40. That surprises me. They lost to Bethel. We'll get into that here in a second. Actually, we're going to get to it right now. But I want you to take a look at this bracket and tell me if you think that they're going to flip-flop these teams. I love a good bracket, and they do a good job on there, but there's always that weird thing with basketball and baseball where the winner of the North plays the winner of the South. You know what I mean, Tips?
Yeah.
Like there's that crossover deal. And to me, put that on the bracket so I can see it. And I'm not sure they did. But we did just find out, Hoyt Buckingham showed us the Chiefs have gone down. So we were going to preview their game against the Bethel Bees. Bell Fountain comes in as the number 7 seed, 12-10, 6-4 in the CBC, playing the Bethel Bees of the Three Rivers Conference, who was 16-6, 8-6 in conference play. I really felt like Bell Fountain was the favorite, and I'm not going to pretend that I have that scouted out, but I don't respect the Three Rivers Conference in the same way I do the CBC.
I totally agree. The strength of schedule in the league is better, but the Chiefs had a couple things working against them, I would say. One, Layla Butler did not play. She got concussed.
I didn't realize that.
Concussed about 10 days ago. Two, basketball, you could say this for a lot of sports, but basketball just seems like it just really sticks out to me. It's who's hot right then. Like March Madness. They won in November and they beat Kentucky. We don't care about that. What did they do a week ago? And the Chiefs were 10-4 and they finished 12-10 before tonight. So they lost 6 out of their last 8 before tonight. So I thought this would be a close game. I really didn't think about who would win. It's a 6 seed in Bethel versus a 7 seed in Bellefontaine. So it's literally a coin toss. I'm not surprised they lost. I would not have been surprised if they would have won. But kind of on the downside as far as some of the results, and also for not having one of their starters in Layla Butler.
And the Chiefs season ends, to me, I think you have to be honest and say disappointingly at 12-11.
I would say so too. They maybe lost some that they could have or should have won. About a week ago, they went to Jonathan Alder, had a 5-point lead with like 90 seconds to go and lost in overtime. And sometimes it's hard to get over those things. It just kind of, especially if it's still just a week later. So.
Well, I thought it was a pretty talented team. I think going into the season, having Quinlan Zediker and Tiffany Booth, those are 2 all-league caliber players. And, they started, like you said, started really well, limped to the finish there a little bit. Now their season's over. So looks like Bethel will advance to play Northridge, which is in their conference. So, this is the time of year where you start seeing that. So looking ahead, actually looking behind. Indian Lake, I believe, has already played. No, I'm sorry, they played earlier in the year. They are the 9 seed. The Chiefs beat them there a week or 2 ago, maybe.
Yeah, about a week and a
pretty
half
good
ago.
game.
Yeah.
Indian Lake comes in 13-9, 7-3 in the CBC. And they play fellow CBC foe Kenton Ridge, 7-15, but 0-10 in the league. Indian Lake beat Kenton Ridge by 18 earlier in the season. That feels like kind of a, get right type game. And then they'll face Urbana in the second round, assuming that Urbana gets past Thurgood Marshall. I did not look to see how Indian Lake had done against Urbana. That would be a crossover game for them. I know Urbana had a strong season.
They lost, I can tell you that. Urbana only lost like 2 games. And I've never seen Peyton Mounts play, but she must be phenomenal.
25 points a game, something like that,
And a
right?
bunch of rebounds and assists and blocks and everything else.
Does the CBC not play everybody in crossover anymore in basketball? Because I twice looked for head-to-heads, and I saw that someone hadn't played someone on the
I
other
don't
side.
think they play everybody.
Bellefontaine, I don't believe boys played Northwestern on the boys' side.
Correct.
So they leave one team off there, or at least one, I guess.
I guess it'd be about 1. I'm looking at the Indian Lake results here.
Well, while you're doing that, Ben Logan has actually already completed their season. So we actually have 2 girls
Yeah.
teams that are out. They were the 15 seed. They had a tough season. They lost to number 1 seed Alder. Speaking of that, they now place you in your bracket based on your seed. Whereas then it felt like for years you picked your line, correct? You go to the seed meeting and you could play that jockeying game. Now, if you're a low seed, I mean, you're getting the hammer right off the bat. So they lost by 50 to Kettering Alder. West Liberty Salem has had a really nice season. Maybe not quite the season they've had at times in the past, just because they've had a really high bar. But they come in as the number 2 seed, and they're going to face one of those Shelby County schools. I believe Fairlawn, Shelby County, right?
Yep.
The number 9 seed Fairlawn. What is it?
Jets.
The Jets. The Jets of Fairlawn, who comes in at 3-19, 0-9. You're always a little wary though when you draw into Shelby County that they're going to play tough teams. But certainly that's a West Liberty winnable game for them in the first round. Now their second round interests me because they look like they'll play Fort Recovery, number 4 seed, 10-12, but out of the MAC. I would say 10-12 in the MAC is probably equal to 15-6 in the OAC year in and year out.
That's a good game.
I mean, that I would guess West Liberty will be challenged right away. Now that's where I struggled with that bracket so then I looked at it and said, okay, does that mean West Liberty Salem would play number 3 Arcanum, but they throw that North 3 and North 2 into the bracket. That gives me some doubt as to what I'm looking at. So the good news is if they do win 2 games, we'll be back on air next Thursday and we can discuss their prospects.
I know you keep up on all the stat lines, but on your show, did you mention it? The news would have been there, I think, a week ago. That Dennis McIntosh has won 500.
Yeah, no doubt. And I wanted to do something on that. I still would like to. I've been trying to get a hold of his son-in-law, Mike Loudon. I don't know if he's listening. He's supposed to call me 3 or 4 times because I've got a lot of stuff on Dennis. I've actually got a really nice article. Dennis's first win was against Bellefontaine. And we talked about this last week here at Craft Emporium. That's a really good Bellefontaine team that he beat because that's 1994-95 season. That's right before Bellefontaine got really, really good, but they were still talented. That's a Shauna Van Horn,
Yeah, Molly Munn.
Molly Munn's team.
Molly Munn, Megan Ashcraft, Michelle Casey, they've all been soft.
Dennis McIntosh's first win is against them.
Wow.
And then they kind of have an okay start, and then they had a nice season, though, in his first year. But I found, unfortunately for me, and the way I work, a lot of Dennis's wins have come in the internet era, not the newspaper era. And I kind of want to make sure I got all my ducks in a row, and that's where Mike Loudon comes in, trying to get some more information before I ran a story. But definitely glad you said that. Something coming on Dennis McIntosh, 500 wins. Is that the winningest basketball coach in county history? Did Will Collins have 500 here
Will had like 530 or 540.
at Bellefontaine?
Well, he coached somewhere up northwest a little
Toledo
bit.
Rogers
Yeah.
had 100 and some wins there.
Right. But here, no, I would not have
So
done
I
it
would guess that Dennis McIntosh is the winningest basketball coach in Logan County
in one place.
at one place, yes, or like wins in the county,
Yeah,
yes.
right. Well, but not only that, just to do it that, we're not gonna see it anymore.
No, I mean he
People
gets
won't
hired
do
when
it
I'm a
now.
freshman in high school. I'm 44 years old, so do the math.
Yeah, I mean, and he's also got, he's a heck of a coach. I would add too, he's got a great, phenomenal staff.
Was at Aaron Holler for a long time, and Aaron Holler was a really successful boys coach for like 13 seasons.
Yeah, I think,
And Mike Freaks.
Danielle King.
Yeah, okay, and that's a little more
Married
recent.
now.
She played for him. Yeah, that's Stan King's daughter. Yeah, she was at Riverside for a while, right?
Right.
Well, then, and we mentioned Coach Freeze at one point when I was talking to Dan McGill. But Coach Freeze was there in Dennis's early days, especially when Abby was there. Abby Freeze, Coach Freeze's daughter, and Amber Coder, who we profiled on the site. He's definitely had some really good supporting staff. Looking ahead to Riverside, I was surprised. Riverside's Division 6, not Division 7. So we've got this new 7 division thing, which is, we probably haven't talked enough about that. Changes everything.
Absolutely.
I just assumed Riverside was 7, but they are 6. So that tells you there's a bunch, and we were talking off air, that there's a bunch of those small schools, the Farallons, the Newtons, the Jackson Centers, the Houstons.
Yeah.
So,
Some will be 6, some will be 7, obviously, like this one. I know you like to follow these football powers, very local. In basketball, 6, same as Coldwater.
same as the Riverside Pirates.
So, yeah.
So Riverside had a tough year, and really girls and boys, but especially girls. 7-15, 2-12 in the league. It's been tough on them. They drew into a Twin Valley South team that's 12-9 and 7-5 in their league. What league is that? Western Ohio League or something? It's almost like a new WOL, or it's definitely called Western something.
Is it the Southwest Buckeye?
No, they're not in that. That's Southwest Buckeyes, like Eaton, Waynesville, Oakwood, Valley View. Yeah, there's like it's not a great conference.
Cross County Conference?
Tri-County North, those type of schools.
With Google, I can get you all your answers. Okay.
And then the last team locally is the Ridgemont Golden Gophers. They have also struggled a little bit this year in the ladies' side. They've drawn into Pandora Gilboa, the number 3 seed. We talked about them a little off air. That's the school that Ada, some of us were interested in Ada football because of Toby Smith. That was who knocked Ada out of the postseason. So that's a school that does a decent job up in Northwest Ohio.
Twin Valley South, they're in the Western Ohio Athletic Conference.
So it is the WOL, which I feel like when I was a kid, wasn't the Springfield South and all them in a Western? They were in a league that was the WOL, I thought.
It's the WOAC, Western Ohio Athletic Conference.
Oh, I got you, WOAC, I got you. So, ladies wise, I think probably the reality is we're looking at Indian Lake and West Lib to carry the torch. I would guess West Lib's probably the betting favorite to get the furthest. They've got a history of it. Because I don't know what happens in these brackets, I can't really look out, and honestly, I probably wouldn't know anyways. I'd be guessing. Looking at the boys' side, start with Benjamin Logan. They are the 16 seed, just like in girls. They've just had a rough year. They're 1-18. They're 0-9 in the league, and they drew Kettering Alder.
Defending state champions.
Yeah, exactly. So that's not, just not really what you're looking for. But that's kind of what you get when you go 1-18. You don't expect to make a run in the tournament anyways. So they have a young team, and they'll be getting ready for next year. Looking at the Chiefs, also play the Bethel Bees. And I don't know if you're aware of this. We haven't talked about this. Have you heard the rumors that Bethel's coming to CBC?
Yeah.
Do you feel like they're more than rumors?
Yes.
Okay, so
I
this
wouldn't
is
bet my life on it, but I'd say Coach Reed always talks percentages. I'd say like 80-85% chance.
so the whole thought there is because it's not a
7-7.
great fit. I mean, geographically, if I'm in Bethel, I'm just telling you, like, if I lived in Bethel, I'd say we're going to North Union to play, we're going to Indian Lake to play. That's not great for Ben Logan. Fountain's not a great drive. They feel like they're getting too big for the Three Rivers.
Right.
And I get that, because when you're drawing Bell Fountain in two, and this is the second time the Chiefs have played them, and boys, the Chiefs beat them, 2 years ago in the first round?
Yeah.
When you're drawing Bell Fountain and you've been playing the Riversides and the City Layman's, and then no slam on them, it's just different levels, you're saying, ugh, well, what are we really getting prepared? So I get that part of it. I think they probably eventually end up in that Miami Valley League if they get as big as what it appears. Maybe Bell Fountain goes with them someday, honestly. I worry a lot. This is maybe another show I'd like to have you on. Anytime the sand starts shifting with the league, I worry about what's coming,
Well,
because
because it could crumble quickly. You and I talked about it.
and Bell Fountain, I've had this talk many, many times. We uniquely at Bell Fountain don't have easy solutions to our league. If you're Benjamin Logan, if you're Indian Lake, you can come up with answers pretty quick. You can go with West Liberty, Salem's, they've done it. They've been in the West Central Ohio Conference, WCOC. It's not realistic for Bell Fountain to be in a league with West Liberty. So you need like-sized schools, and there's less of them, and they're further apart. And where I really get scared for Bell Fountain, and if I was sitting in that AD's chair, I would be talking to the KRs and the Shawnees and the Tecumsehs and the Alders and the Londons, because those are your sister schools to me, and making sure that they're all staying tight. Because what you worry about is that Alder and London start looking east, which I don't think they should, because they've already done that. And if I'm them, I'm happy. They're both having a lot of success.
Well, I think London's, this is just my opinion, I'm not talking to anybody at those schools, Rick. I think London's more secure, but Jonathan Alder, just when you drive down 33, they're still Division IV in football, which
Right.
Bell Fountain's Division III. I just don't get it.
Everybody keeps saying they're going to get bigger.
But, I mean, well, they're building, I think, a new elementary. You just see the growth in the town or even outside of Plain City. Guess the Coach Reed quote, the over-under, are they still in the league 5 years from now? I don't know.
I say 5, but not 10.
Okay.
I think they are for 5, but I'm with you. No, and down the road, and then so yeah, you need to, and we've been through this before. 10 years ago, when the league shook up, I was part of those conversations of where would we go. We contacted the Miami Valley League, and they said they didn't want to go as far north as Bell Fountain. Now, would they change their mind? They could, because what could happen is what always happens is some teams struggle and they get tired of getting their teeth kicked in. So what's the first thing they want to do? Before they want to leave, they want to go to 2 divisions. That's what teams always do. Let's go a division where we can compete and try to stay away from the schools that we can't compete with. That could benefit Bell Fountain down the road if the MVL said Bethel, Tecumseh, Bell Fountain, and pick your 4th school. I don't really have a good one off the top of my head, but you find 4 schools and you make a bigger conference. And I'm not saying that's what I want. That's just what I would look at. The other was the WBL. Not a great solution. Wednesday night trips to Defiance would be a heck of a culture shock for Bell Fountain people. But we've done it before. We were in. I don't believe Defiance was in. I should know that. I don't know.
think so either.
I don't feel like I have Defiance versus Bell Fountain in football in my records. So WBL is a lot different until you have to drive to Van Wert and Defiance. That's a lot tougher trips. Otherwise, I don't know what the answer is. I don't know how we ended up on this topic. Bethel Bees.
Greenan, that's the other one.
Greenan is the one that's supposed to be coming. I really don't understand that move. Greenan was bad here in the CBC. Greenan was bad in the OHC. Now, I think the answer is the sports that we don't talk as much about. Now, tonight we did. Soccer is not nearly as good in the OHC. Swimming, those type of things. They want to be with bigger schools, which I get that part. Basketball, football, it doesn't matter where they're at. They haven't been very good. But Bell Fountain, the Chiefs are 9-12, 3-6 in the league. I think it's a little disappointing season. I mean, I think if you told me over/under wins before the season, I was thinking 12-14. They're probably settling a little below that. This is an important game for them to play Bethel in the first round. This is a Bethel team with 14 wins, 9 in their league, but not all leagues are created equal. I would put the Chiefs as a solid favorite. I will be surprised if the Chiefs lose, but I'm a little bit surprised that they lost in the girls' game.
Well, they just had things going in their own direction. The girls, especially the injury, then just the last about 3 weeks of results. But I don't know who I would say is favored in the boys. First thing they'll say about the boys, if you're a Chiefs fan, let's win tomorrow. They've lost 3 in a row. You want to get a win going into that tournament. They need to win
Who they play tomorrow, KR?
At Kent Ridge.
Kent Ridge, yeah. Yeah, no doubt. Talented team, though. Jared Mundy, uber talented. Braylon Newcomb, uber talented. Jacob Sawyer's a very solid basketball player. You know, they've gotten good minutes out of Grayson Lotz, out of Patrick Stolley, J-Mo Clement. I feel like I'm missing someone in there. But
C.J. Butler.
C.J. Butler, no doubt. Yeah, one of the best shooters on the team. I feel like this is a game that they need to win for the program. If they win, on paper, they'll play, well, literally either Oakwood or Kenton Ridge. My assumption is Oakwood's the favorite in that, but, you know, Kenton Ridge, the Chiefs play tomorrow night down at KR. Oakwood comes out of the SWBL. I don't know that, and you know this more than me, definitely a really good football conference. Are they a great basketball conference?
I don't think
I
so.
hear as much. The Valley Views of the world that are really good at.
I don't think so. So the Chiefs could win a couple, but I think the first game against Bethel, to me, maybe you feel a little better about it than I do. I think it's a good game.
Yeah, well, it'll be interesting. And this is still a week off. You know, that basketball is backloaded a little bit, boys. You know, we're in the teeth of it. Some of these other sports, basketball still got a while.
Start to the 22nd for the Chiefs.
Boys are getting all
Question
wound
for you. I
up.
know you're getting ready to wrap it up. I'm a very big creature of habit. What's your opinion as a coach or a super fan of 7 divisions? Like what? And I know they did it in football, but did they need to go to 7 in volleyball, and basketball, and I don't know if there's 7 in baseball. I can't remember. But do you see why they did the OHSA did that?
Well, I think they don't necessarily have to go to 7 divisions. There's no doubt it's a little bit of a money grab. I don't think there's any doubt of that. And it's also a way to keep people happy. I mean, people
More trophies.
people want to
State title.
chase things. And yeah, I don't know. Now, one thing I'll say though, and I say this about bowl games every time they add another one, people complain. I say, I love more sports. So it does demean, it demeans the product, but at the same time, it gives more of the product. So I don't know. I'm not like anti it. It seems like overkill. But am I sitting here like annoyed by it? Not at all. It intrigues me as a fan. I see all these different brackets. I mean, I'm still to this day. I like looking through them, and it's more things to chase and follow. And
You love following your sports. I got one football thing for you. I thought of you during the Super Bowl, and I didn't even watch.
now we still got 2 more basketball teams to talk
Okay,
about.
well you go there.
We'll table the football till the end. We just got 3 more teams. West Liberty Salem, who's a very interesting team. You know, they're the number 10 seed, which they have had a very volatile season. They're 12-9, 11-4 in the OHC. They're taking on league foe Greenview, who they've already defeated once. They played them one time crossover a few weeks ago, who's 9-12, 8-7. West Liberty has lost their 3 best players to season-ending injuries. It started with Taryn Logwood after like 5 or 6 games.
Both out games.
Yeah, it was the Bell Fountain games, late in the Bell Fountain game, which some of those guys would tell you it's why the Chiefs end up winning. Now, I didn't say that's what the West Liberty people told me, that they you know, it really hurt them in the moment, and then they lose Brevin Loudon, senior leader, and recently,
Junior.
is he a junior?
Junior.
I got you, okay. And then recently Carson Poppy.
Senior.
Senior. So, and the crazy thing is, they beat Indian Lake last week.
I was really
early this
surprised.
week. Early this week.
2 days ago.
Tuesday night.
I was really surprised.
And Brody Reisinger played. Avery Pickaninny played. At first, I thought, okay, did Indian Lake maybe not play people, or it just was not on paper a game that I thought would happen. They got a bunch of production out of some young dudes. Sutton Wilcoxon, Isaiah Reams has really come on, and he's shot up the 3-point leaderboard for Garage Sports. I think I'm missing a name in there. Christensen kid has come on and is must be playing point guard. He's moved up the list on assists. It's an interesting situation there, because I certainly think Greenview's a winnable game. I'm just assuming, but if they win, they play number 2 Waynesville.
Well, what concerns me about them though is that they've lost all these good players. Sometimes as a coach, where are you going to get your scoring? Now they got 62 against Indian Lake Tuesday, which is really, really good. I didn't think it would score that many, and they got the win. But you get into one of these tournament games, you're going to have to score probably 50 points. But what if one of your players has an off night because they don't have the other guys that are normally there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think any team's built to lose their three best players or three of their best players at the very least. But if they win, they will play Waynesville. And then if they would win that, that leads us to Indian Lake, the number 5 seed, 14-7, 8-1. So, obviously Indian Lake is seeded quite a bit above West Liberty. I would guess the result of their game certainly wasn't factored in because it happened 2 days ago. Indian Lake draws 15 seed Greenon, who you mentioned. That's maybe not as gimme as you would think. I looked at it. They're 7-13, 6-9 in the OAC. They gave West Liberty a really good game. So, I mean, just the A versus B, B versus C type thing. I don't know. I'm not watching the film, and neither are you. But I would guess on some level they better come to play versus Greenon. If they win, they will play Greenview, West Liberty, Salem, or Waynesville. Again, SWBL, we don't know much. Number 2 seed for a reason, I would guess.
If West Lib plays Waynesville, it'll be a football, basketball rematch, so to speak.
And if West Lib plays Indian Lake, it's a heck of a rematch. So, yeah, there's some interesting plot lines there. And then Riverside is the number 5 seed in Division 6, 7-15, 3-11. And Tips, if you can tell me who Ridgemont's playing, that Northwest District site, I struggled to find who the Ridgemont boys were playing. And Ridgemont boys have had a nice season.
Yeah, they're good.
I really would. Tyler Tillman is their head coach. He's done a good job with them, and he does a good job of giving me their information, which I don't want to leave him out. But Riverside has drawn Northeastern, which is a familiar foe from the OAC. Northeastern is 9-11, 6-9. Again, I feel like Riverside's boys have struggled of late. I would guess that's a underdog situation, but it is a 4 and a 5. If they win, they're advantageous seed-wise, but it's Fort Recovery and Houston, which on paper, when I hear Fort Recovery and Houston, I think that might not be, I think we all just kind of have bias towards the Western Ohio rural
Houston's not
schools.
very good. Riverside already beat Houston.
Okay, well, there you go. See? That's what I'll bring you on.
Jefferson, that's who Richmond is.
Delphos Jefferson, Brian Lorette, senior analyst of Garage Sports, is just listening. Delphos Jefferson, do we know the seed?
They could win that game.
Ridgemont's a 3, Jefferson's a 6.
Yeah, they could win.
Can you see who Ridgemont would play if they beat Delphos Jefferson?
The winner of Minster.
Is Minster pretty solid?
Yeah.
Minster's a 2 seed.
All right, so Minster, because he's talking off air, Minster is the 2 seed, and yeah, that would be that's a tough draw. It feels like, but Ridgemont's done a nice job with their boys team in general. They've had a nice boys program for a while, but in basketball as well.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, like you
Coach
said,
Stuck got it going, and Coach Tillman now.
and he's now the principal, and Tyler Tillman did he play for Ridgemont?
He did. I think he did.
So yeah, they've done a nice job with that boys program, and it's not easy. I mean, a school that size, you're one bad class away from really struggling, and the nice thing is you're one good class away from being really successful. But Tips, I
Football
know.
question.
Oh yes, let's
Been
get
on my mind all
yes.
week. Been on my mind all week. The Super Bowl, I was super wrong. I'm terrible picking the Super Bowl. By the way. Terrible. Under 50% of my lifetime, which I think I usually can pick football games pretty well, but I'm not good at the Super Bowl. I thought Kansas City would win, close, because that's kind of their cup of tea is a close game. I had them winning 27-24. And you could tell early on in the game, and I'm going to ask this to Coach Reed because he's an old offensive line coach. For other coaches talk about this, Urban Meyer, like what's it like down there in the trenches the first 5-6 minutes, and you kind of get a feel, especially if it's very one-sided. If it's pretty close, well, then we got to go deeper into the game to see what's going to happen. I could not believe that. And I talk to Hoyt sometimes. He follows the NFL better than Buck does over there across from us. I could not believe how Philadelphia's defensive line just absolutely kicked the beep out of the cheek. Like, and my point to you as a lineman, can you ever figure that out before the game? Like, we're the Chiefs. We're the Kansas City Chiefs, not the Belfount Chiefs. I don't like the matchup. I'm just not sure we can block them.
Well, Skylar Mipson said on air that he thought that it was an issue, that the matchup with their D-line.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm surprised that it was so bad. I mean, really, yeah. Kansas City really didn't have a prayer. You can't pass pro. Couldn't get into anything. They would have had to thrown everything short. They could not do anything downfield. Yeah, I mean, obviously they're two-time defending
Yeah, I know.
NFL champions. So it's hard to imagine they would just lay an egg. But there was probably some signs there. You know, that Philadelphia D-line was really good, and the Chiefs had issues throughout the season on their offensive line. So I guess it's like anything. Looking back, you're like, yeah, I can see that coming. But I wasn't as interested in the game as I wish I was. It just kind of was boring. And if you're not a Chiefs fan, you're not an Eagles fan, and you're not winning any money on it, it's I kind of checked out. It was I didn't have the strong opposition to Kendrick Lamar. I didn't care one way or the other. It wouldn't have mattered who the halftime show was. I probably wasn't going to pay that much attention to it. But it was what it was. And the second half, I found myself, my mind was wandering.
Okay. Saquon Barkley, which he never, he was fine in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So, what a baller.
Yeah, you say he was going to rush for 60 yards. You think that's probably in a losing effort on 20 some odd carries. But yeah, you know, I was a guy that sat here 2 or 3 weeks ago and said the Eagles are about to rebuild. So, you know, a lot of people come to me for NFL advice. I'm kind of a sage that I predicted that really well, and luckily no one was listening. But the internet does say we had like 600 views that night, so someday maybe they'll play that clip somewhere. But tips,
Always a pleasure.
appreciate. Nobody knows. I know we're not experts on bowling. We're not experts on swimming, but we know enough to be dangerous. There's not all kinds of experts in those sports, so
If Graham wins, it would make, this is easy because it started like in 01, I believe.
It did start
This would
in
make
01.
25 in a row?
if that's the math, it started in 01. You're right about that.
24 because I guess COVID. Did they get it in during COVID?
No, they didn't. It was the week of the state tournament. Garrett Gross was a Bell Fountain State qualifier that missed out on his opportunity.
Can anybody give Graham a battle or it's just?
I don't think so, and I'm not as locked into it as I used to be. But I think Division III, you know, I think there was a chance Graham was going to lose the COVID year. They were maybe a little bit in danger. I want to say like Louisville. Is that how you say it? Or do you say it Louisville?
No, Louisville.
Louisville.
Right outside of Canton.
They were maybe right there with them. So, yeah, the streak goes on. I root for the streak. It makes me feel younger because it goes back to when I was like almost in high school. So I just want to keep it going. I don't want to see that. I don't want to lose that connection. So, all right, Tips. It'll be interesting to see here. We'll get by next Thursday. We'll have a bunch of these questions answered. We'll know who's at the districts and most of the sports. We'll know how these first few rounds of basketball go. Not sure who we're going to talk to next Thursday, but I'm sure we'll be talking some more high school sports. I want to thank Craft Emporium. Boys got a little loud tonight, but they're having a good time. And always want to thank Paul Newland at Top of Ohio Radon. Give Paul a call, 937-935-2806. The number's there on the screen. Give him a call. Give him some of your business. Great dude. Great local guy. Thanks to Hoyt Buckingham, Brian Harmon. See you next Thursday. God. Christ.